Believe it or not, American women are not perfect. They have a lot of flaws.
American women absolutely disgust me.
Number one, they're fat. Fat girls are simply unattractive, so why should you waste time dating a fat chick?
American black women are the ugliest women in the diaspora.
Because American women are an abomination.
Fact of the matter is that American women in general are just beyond reproach.
Because I'm smart and I'm gonna marry a beautiful woman back from home who hasn't been polluted with American values and culture.
Dress like a whore. Walk like a whore.
Number three, they cut their hair short. They are so lazy to maintain long hair that they make themselves ugly on purpose.
Talk like a whore. Dance like a whore.
Number seven, they don't know how to cook. Their idea of cooking is using the microwave or preparing macaroni and cheese, and some women don't even know how to do that.
Date around like a whore.
Number eight, they wear flip-flops when they're not in the beach, not at the pool, or not in their house.
Get around like a whore.
Number nine, they have condoms in their dresser because they are fully prepared to sleep with random men.
8 problems with the modern American westernized woman. Pretty self-explanatory title, guys. Let's jump right into it.
I won't belabor you for too long. Instead, I decided to elaborate a bit on this dichotomy because it's a talking point that has existed in quasi-red pill spaces for over a decade. Most conversations you have heard recently on YouTube are nothing more but a regurgitation of prior arguments.
Western women have like different values from like Eastern women. They come off kind of, you know what I'm saying? They come off kind of masculine. They be trying to compete with you, yada, yada. But when you go over towards the East, they more feminine and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They more willing to submit.
You know, what's wrong with American women? Because we're, you know, same thing. It's like different countries, totally different world. But that relationship, that touch with the femininity, the touch with like the total sexual release, it's very hard to find. Whereas it's a lot easier to find in other countries. Have you guys found the same thing?
I do see how the Americanized female can be something that you don't want to even be a part of, and you want to go overseas because women overseas do have a different type of mentality.
Journalist Helen Lewis noted that the Manosphere abhors feminism and believe it is destroying Western civilization. Essentially, to quote her, the idea that feminism is decadent and is destroying Western civilization, the idea that women's natural role is to have children and to be subservient to men. Given this fear, these men promote foreign women as superior to Western culture because they haven't been quote-unquote corrupted by feminism, and they believe these women are rooted in traditionalism in regards to gender norms. In case you're wondering, these guys know little to nothing about the history and contemporary politics of feminism and women's rights in other countries, but I don't want to get into a history lecture. Now, the term foreign woman literally means any woman from a non-Western country. Oddly, you have some goofies who think non-Western means anything but American.
Go to a country like Germany. Go to Poland, Switzerland, Canada, Japan, Korea. These are countries that have first world nations. The women there don't need your money. They don't need you as far as to be a provider or seek money and whatnot, but yet they still treat you better than westernized women.
What is tiresome about this debate is that gradually these men eventually succumb to the realization that women are the same globally. They come to this realization as a startling revelation when it should have been a no-brainer from the beginning. But you do have men who have been robbed or physically assaulted while overseas but still insist that foreign women are superior.
They are destroying the villas. They're acting up. And what they do is that they want to get more money out of you. If you don't, they call the police, or you call the police because they tear up the place.
The female validation these men receive in certain countries blind them from reality. It's important to note that a racial divide exists within red pill spaces when it comes to foreign women. In the white sector of the manosphere, a country's favorability is measured by the lack of feminism that exists there. If these men think feminism is encroaching there, they'll label the location as a no-go zone. In the black sector, on the other hand, the parameter is measured by how few black people live in a respective country. The rationale is if few black people live there, one will become exotic and women will be sexually curious.
You will be treated differently overseas versus America?
Now, there is a stem of truth that black men are treated better overseas, but it's much more nuanced than what one master teacher said. SUNY Stony Brook sociologist Crystal Flemings, in her 2018 book, How to Be Less Stupid About Race, argued that while overseas, black Americans have what she called African American privilege. She argued that countries often treat African Americans well to serve as a contradistinction to the United States while simultaneously oppressing their own domestic minorities. The logic spewed by one master teacher falls into odd territories, of course. There are content creators who have advocated black men to travel to Pakistan and countries currently in military conflicts. You can tell neither group has much respect or knowledge about sexual norms in respective countries. Although Western countries are more sexually liberated than other countries around the world, these men often equate sex tourism as a cultural norm rather than an economic necessity for women who live in destitution. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
The real reason Western women hate MGTOW is because women, mostly Western women, white women in particular, have grown accustomed to using their as a means to control men.
White women overseas will treat you dramatically different than the white women in America, because they have a curiosity factor. There's no history of racism against black people in a lot of these different countries.
You know, like having a Russian girl like come up and speak into your ear is more erotic than, you know, having a threesome with two Aussie girls, in my opinion.
If I'm in a relationship, I couldn't be in DR because I would cheat every day. I would. That's why I'm glad I'm over here with my chick. I ain't got to worry about it because ain't nothing but a bunch of fat, ugly American women out here anyways around where I am. So I don't give a fuck.
I have personally avoided dating Western women, especially here in Asia, because most of the Western women here are overweight, masculine, and angry at the world. That's strange. It doesn't change. Doesn't matter where you go, does it?
On my website, I basically talk about black women all over the world. But again, I will continually bring it back to the American black female because she's the mascot of destruction. She's the one who these other black women in different countries around the world are following.